My teacher asked me to draw my family, and when she saw my drawing, she called the police. I'm 9 years old, and I know adults lie because I can hear them through the walls. Our apartment is so small that I can hear everything from my room. I hear Mom crying in the kitchen at 2 in the morning, thinking I'm asleep. I hear her on the phone with someone saying, "I can't take this anymore." And I hear someone knocking at the door at midnight and Mom saying, "Please go away," while the other voice replies, "Open the door or I will." But I don't tell anyone because Mom told me that what happens at home stays at home, and if anyone asks, I should say that everything is fine. So I say that everything is fine. On Monday, Miss Miranda gave us an assignment. I want you to draw your family doing something together. Something you normally do at home. It could be having dinner, watching a movie, playing a game, anything. I want to get to know your families through your eyes. Everyone excitedly pulled out their crayons. I heard Santiago say he was going to draw his family at the beach, and Camila say she was going to draw her family baking a cake. I stared at the blank sheet of paper, wondering what to draw, because we didn't go to the beach or bake cakes. I drew what I knew. I drew our apartment with its thin walls. I drew Mom in the kitchen crying, holding a phone. I drew myself in my room with my hands over my ears. And I drew the apartment door with a shadow outside, a large shadow knocking on the door. I didn't draw a face for the shadow because I never saw it, only heard its voice. I also drew something I saw once when I was supposed to be asleep. One night I got up to get some water and saw Mom in the bathroom putting something under the sink. It was a black bag. When she saw me, she got so scared she dropped it, and I saw what was inside. Papers and a lot of money, more than I'd ever seen. The bills were big and wrapped in rubber bands. Mom quickly put them away and told me it was our secret and that if anyone found out, something very bad would happen to us. So I drew the black bag under the sink. When I finished my drawing, Miss Miranda walked between the desks looking at everyone's work. She smiled at each child and said, "How lovely, and what a beautiful family." When she got to my desk, she stopped. She crouched down beside me and stared at the drawing for a long time without saying anything. I saw her face change. It was as if the color had drained from her face, like when a glass of milk spills on the table and slowly empties. "Maya, honey, what's this here?" she asked, pointing at the shadow in the doorway. "It's the man who comes at night," I answered. "I never see him, I only hear his voice. He comes and knocks on the door, and Mom always tells him to leave, but sometimes he doesn't." Then she pointed to Mom crying. "It's Mom, she always cries when she's on the phone." And finally, she pointed to the black bag. "That's a secret," I said, covering my mouth with my hands because Mom had told me not to tell anyone. But Miss Miranda had eyes that made you want to tell her everything. They were soft, but sad eyes. She asked me if we were okay, and I automatically answered yes, like Mom taught me. She stood up and told me she would keep my drawing to give it a star later. But she didn't give me a star. Instead, I saw her through the window talking on the phone with a serious expression. Then the principal came in, and they both looked at my drawing. 20 minutes later, 2 people who weren't from the school arrived, a woman with a folder named Elena and a man with a badge on his belt. They took me to the principal's office while Santiago mocked me, saying I was in trouble. Elena sat down across from me and told me I wasn't in trouble, that she just wanted to ask me a few questions. I told her everything. About the shadow, about Mom's crying, and about the black bag. When I mentioned the bag, the man with the badge moved for the first time to check his phone. Elena asked me where my mom worked, but I didn't know. Mom leaves at night and comes back very early, before I wake up. Sometimes Grandma Sophia takes care of me, and sometimes I'm left alone. I don't tell anyone I'm left alone because Mom says if they find out, they'll take me far away from her. Elena looked at me as if she wanted to hug me. The man with the badge left the office talking on his phone. I heard him mention Building 14 and the Ramirez case. I didn't know what the Ramirez case was, but the way they said it made my stomach feel like when you go down a swing too fast. Elena took my hand and asked if the man in the long coat had ever come into the house. I told her that once, when I was 7, I saw him in the living room. He was big, and Mom yelled at me to go back to my room. She had never yelled at me like that before. It was a terrifying scream. The day after that, Mom didn't go to work, and she had something around her neck that she covered with a scarf, even though it was summer. I also told her that that was the night the man gave Mom the black bag that she now hides under the sink. I told her that the man kept coming every week and always said the same thing. Bring the girl in on Monday. And today was Friday. Elena jumped up so fast she knocked over the chair. She stormed out of the office and told the man, "We need to get to that apartment now, not on Monday. If the mother doesn't answer, it's because something has already happened or is about to happen." I sat there with my feet dangling off the chair. Miss Miranda came in and hugged me. She was crying. She told me I had done something very brave and that my drawing was going to protect my mom. I kept thinking about that as I listened to the sirens approaching outside the window. It sounded like someone was finally going to make everything really all right. However, when Elena came back 15 minutes later, she didn't have my mom with her. She wore an expression of utter horror. She crouched down and asked me, "Maya, are you sure your mom dropped you off at school this morning?" I told her of course she did, that I know my mom. Elena looked at Miss Miranda and then at the man with the badge, whose face was ashen. "Honey," Elena said, her voice trembling, "we went to the apartment, and the person we found there isn't your mother. The neighbors say they haven't seen your mother in 2 years, and the remains we found in that black bag under the sink explain why." At that moment, I understood that the woman who made me breakfast and asked me to keep secrets, the one who cried behind the walls, wasn't my mother, but someone who had taken her place while the man in the coat continued knocking on the door.